Saturday night in Richmond, the fight for the final place in the chase was a thriller. A former champ struggled while two others kept fans on their feet. That and a popular hometown winner made it a night to remember.
Top 5, top 4, a win. That's what we just have to shoot for tonight.
So hopefully we can get that done tonight and get into the chase.
I know we can do it, but that's no guarantee.
Who will it be? We'll all find out together 400 laps from now.
But here's Matt Kenseth, and he's just not doing well at all. See right here, he just completely drove by his pit.
Kyle Busch just passed Brian Vickers.
Will not get in the corner, will not turn to center, will not exit.
Denny Hamlin dives into the corner and will take that spot back away.
Every time Kyle edges ahead of Jeff Gordon, that puts him back in.
Now Vickers has made a pass, and Vickers is back in.
Denny Hamlin finally wins a Sprint Cup race at his home track.
And Brian Vickers will come down and be in the chase.
I don't know what to say. I'm so proud of everybody.
They better watch us. I'm telling you, this team is dangerous.
After dominating and missing out before, Denny Hamlin was able to seal the deal at Richmond, leading 299 of 400 laps to win the Chevy Rock and Roll 400 on Saturday night. Hamlin wasn't the only one celebrating. Brian Vickers edging Kyle Busch by a mere 8 points for the final place in the chase after Matt Kenseth struggled to a 25th place finish. We look into how it all went down and how your favorite will race in the chase next on NASCAR Now.
Welcome to NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot.
From the Home Depot Garage Studio, we welcome you to the Living Up to Its Potential edition of the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable. Heading into Saturday night's race, I said to some folks that I hope the night lived up to its potential with 11 guys racing for 8 spots. I think it did. We talk about it over the next hour with our roundtable panel. Ray Evernham, Randy LaJoie, Ricky Craven joining us. What'd you think of the night?
I thought it was great. Great race, great side-by-side, 2 and 3 wide racing for the lead. But the race between Kyle Busch and Brian Vickers made the night for me.
And here's some of the things. I think there's a lot of guys just protecting their position. They knew they were in. They said, okay, we're just going to hang here. So I don't know. How about that bling on Ray's finger?
Get to that, huh? There you go.
I love short track racing. What I liked about this, guys, is that flat tires and blown engines didn't play a part in the equation. They settled it on the racetrack.
You knew he wasn't going to take long, huh?
But that's, you know, I've known him a long time. That's
Congratulations.
Okay. That was good. Thank you.
All right, let's begin with the thrilling head-to-head duel between Vickers and Busch. Brian Vickers started 6th, Kyle Busch 8th, 20 and 37 points back of Matt Kenseth, respectively. When Matt struggled, it opened the door for them to race into the chase, and they put on a show. Vickers had Kyle in sight. Then on stops here at lap 321, the 83 crew got the job done. Picked up 3 spots to get their driver out ahead of Kyle Busch. After the restart, with 14 to go or so, that next restart comes later. I hate it when I lose my place. Kyle raced back past Vickers, then began kind of slipping back. The handle on his car kind of went away.
Yeah, it looked like Kyle's car really wasn't good on long runs all night. He needed short runs, and it looked like it got a little bit loose after that, and it just didn't work consistently all night for him.
Here we go with a caution with 19 to go for an engine failure on Brad Keselowski's car. And this time it was Kyle Busch's pit crew that got the job done as the 83 team had a little struggle here.
They took back what they gave him earlier and said, all right, pal, you're going to have to make it up for us.
Gave up 3 spots. So after the restart with 14 to go, the 18 and 83 raced hard for spots. Literally, they traded 12th position in points for consecutive laps, while Kyle raced Jeff Gordon and Vickers raced Sam Hornish. Vickers finally cleared Hornish for 7th and got that final place in the chase.
You know, it was a group effort. Everybody at Red Bull and Toyota did a tremendous job the past, all year for that matter, but especially the past 8, 9, 10 weeks. And, last week in Atlanta, changed that axle out losing a lap, really kept our chances alive. Tonight, man, we picked a good night to have, for me to have a good race and for us to have a good car. It's the best car we've ever had. And somebody asked me, what happened? What did you guys do 8 weeks ago and 10 weeks ago to really make this team come to life? And it wasn't just one thing. I think it was a culmination of the chemistry and the confidence in each other and this team just coming together. And, and it's paid off.
That's not the 8 points that we sacrificed tonight. It's a conglomerate of points that we sacrificed all year. We just need to work on the consistency. We picked up at some racetracks that we needed to, and we faltered real bad at some racetracks we felt like we were really good at. So just wasn't our year. Just wasn't meant to be for some reason. You know, the good Lord upstairs put me in this predicament for a reason, and one of these days I'll be able to figure that out and tell you what it is.
Interesting to me how Vickers and Busch kind of had opposite seasons in terms of momentum. Busch started out hot, but after the first 10 races slowed up, his average finished 20th over the next 11 races. Meanwhile, Vickers kind of steadily improved over the course of the season and got even better over the summer, which pushed him into chase contention. First, let me get your reactions to the thrilling head-to-head duel this became on Saturday night.
Yeah, what impressed me, Alan, is that Brian Vickers and Ryan Pemberton actually improved this car. And I asked him after the race, was it that good? You were holding back, or did you improve it? And he said, no, they made some great changes. Obviously, Brian gave some great feedback, but something to watch, something I always watch on short track racing. Drivers get the cars in the corner, drivers can get the cars out of the corner, but the car has to get you through the middle. And that's where Brian Vickers was a little better at the end, was right through the middle.
Well, one of the things I watched was Kyle Busch. You know, he run 5th. I mean, that's not a bad night. When you run 5th in a Cup event, you've done your homework. Your team has done good. And he just missed it. You heard his voice. He was down and out, and he gave up 8 points through 26 races.
Again, it didn't come down to mistakes. It didn't come down to one guy running real good and one guy running real bad. Right. Again, Randy, like you said, they ran the top 5. They ran the top 10. You had cars, you're talking about 5th and 7th place. Coming down to that, one team just beat the other, and that's what it comes down to. That's what makes NASCAR racing great and competitive, is the fact that they run that close. And it came down to 8 points at the end of the year.
I got to say this. One finished 5th, one finished 7th. One had a 6th place average, and one had a 27th place average coming in. I thought that was remarkable.
Yeah, and the other thing, what I noticed about, nobody put a fender on anybody. Yeah. Nobody put a bumper on anybody when they were racing hard. Imagine the pressure on Vickers and Kyle Busch as they're racing around each other, knowing if they slip into that guy and spin him out and alter the championship, the reaction that's going to bring.
Professionals.
That's be like Wrecking Jr.
Yeah, that's probably true. Vickers' summer streak that pushed him into the chase. What made it happen?
Well, you heard Brian, and I agree with him 100%. It's not one thing. It's that communication. It's that team gelling. It's learning to get Brian comfortable in the car with what he wants, and more importantly, the communication between he and Ryan Pemberton to make that car better and keep it going during the race was very key in the summer.
I think a contract. I mean, he was in limbo. He didn't know what he was going to do for a while. Didn't know they wanted him. They didn't want him to stay. They didn't know what manufacturers they were doing. All of a sudden, they know what manufacturers are staying with Toyota. Red Bull said, okay, we're going to give you a contract. He goes out and wins Michigan, makes the chase. I think a contract helps, too.
It's worth 50 horsepower, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Take that distraction away.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other side of the coin, Kyle Busch started out the season hot, but they weren't able to maintain that pace over the summer. What kept him out of the chase?
Well, the fact is the car wasn't there this weekend. I mean, he worked hard. I watched him all night driving deep in the corner, at times too deep in the corner, and they just hadn't improved here down the stretch drive. Ironically, his teammate did. Denny Hamlin did. So the cars had the potential, but they just didn't get it right in practice.
And Kyle basically gave the answers, the inconsistencies, those crashes that we just saw, the blown tires, the high finishes with the very low. Those low finishes really, really hurt you because there's nice, you can come out of there with 40 points or 50 points, and that really hurts.
You have to make the bad days better.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can't have a 38th. You know, a 30th at a bad day is what you need to have.
And he has to conform to points racing. It's not something that I hope he does, and he probably doesn't. He resists it. But the fact is he has to embrace points racing because that's what it comes down to.
Looking at that Daytona wreck, 4th of July weekend, you're thinking about specifically.
Yeah, exactly, because there's a lump of points there, and you say, that's one part of this that I can control. You know, instead of blocking, I say, hey, I try to chase him to the start-finish line. If I lose, I finish second, but I have a 175-point day. That weigh's pretty big right now.
Yeah. But that's not what we want to see out of Kyle Busch.
It's not what we expect.
And it's the back to that system, which is a whole nother show.
Yeah.
We're going to get in trouble. We go into that. But the bottom line is, it does force him then to change his driving, and that's something that we absolutely don't want to see because Kyle Busch's aggressiveness is why people turn on a lot of televisions and buy tickets to those races.
Now, what opened the door for Brian Vickers and Kyle Busch to have that great head-to-head fight for that final spot in the chase was the terrible night that Matt Kenseth had. He ended the race 12th in points, started 28th on the grid, barely missed the lap 4 wreck there, and then pitted when his crew didn't really expect him to on the first caution. It dropped him to 37th. He doesn't make any progress forward, then has trouble on 2 consecutive pit stops.
It just didn't start here. You know, this started 2 months ago. He had trouble with the 55 car, and when you miss your pits, that's just all on the driver. You know, it is not easy to hit your pits. But, man, when you miss it, it's your own fault.
But when that happens, Randy, and you know this happens, when that happens, you're thinking about something else. You're trying to think, how can I give better feedback? How can I deliver to my crew chief what I need to get this car for?
Or how busy the lake is going to be tomorrow.
Well, it took him most of the race to get back in position, to get a lucky dog, or to get the wave around to get on the lead lap, and that didn't help him either, Alan.
Yeah, finally here, 19 to go, under caution. The first opportunity they had all race long to try and play some strategy, so they stay on the track, get the wave around. He restarts 26th, but he's on older tires, doesn't get the caution they need to try and make something happen, and Kenseth misses the chase.
We just haven't ran good enough. We haven't ran good enough to really be in a chase anyway. And Brian's got a lot of momentum, and I know Kyle didn't make it in, but some of them guys might, would probably have a shot. And the way we're running and operating right now, even if we made it, we wouldn't have a shot at the championship. So I'd be lying if I didn't say I was really disappointed we didn't make it, and I wish we would have had a better year. But we'll just keep working on it and see what we can do to improve. I think there's some improvements need to be made organizational-wise to make our cars run better. And I know I can do a better job driving, and I know we can do a better job on pit road and as our team too. So we're going to work on as hard as we can these last 10 weeks and hopefully at least get back into competitive form to get ready for next year.
Here are the numbers to back up Matt Kenseth's sentiments there. He won the first 2 races of the season, then just had 2 more top 5 finishes the rest of the way through Richmond. His average finish just 15th among all drivers. So for the first time since the chase format came into play, Matt Kenseth misses the chase. Bad time to have a bad night. How does this happen?
Alan, as the season goes on, sometimes you just lose that edge. Everybody else is getting better, you're getting worse. He's not been that strong. Even at Atlanta last week, they weren't that strong. Got a good finish, and you can't always rely on everything going your way. You've got to get your car faster. But I don't know that it's a terrible year for him. He won the Daytona 500.
Yeah, I was going to say, Daytona 500 and California, the first 2 races of the year. How bad could it be? I mean, Matt Kenseth, he had a great beginning, but man, you could hear it in his voice. That whole race team is going to look to do a lot of things different.
When you show up at the track, there's a window either way of about 2/10. You can make it 2/10 better, you can make it 2/10 worse, but what you bring to the racetrack, by and large, has a lot to do with what kind of weekend you're going to have. That car never locked onto the racetrack.
That's on the crew chief.
That was his fault. Well, let's talk about a couple things here. As I listened to the 17 teams radio, some during the race on Saturday night, there wasn't a whole lot of cheerleading going on. And granted, they didn't have a lot to cheerlead about, but it didn't sound like there was that spark there of somebody saying, we're going to get it, we're going to figure it out, we'll make, I didn't hear that.
And Alan, a lot of people would disagree with me and tell me that I'm full of it, but I still think that emotion and pump people up, that is part of the crew chief's job. Any good coach will tell you the secret is to make people believe that they're better than they are and motivate them. And that is part of it. And that's a very Matt's a very quiet engineering-based guy. Drew's a very quiet engineering-based guy. This is a conversation I used to have a lot with Kenny Francis. It's part of a responsibility. You have to spend as much time with the driver and mental, with the crew as you do with the race car.
Ray does call drivers mental.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. Ray,
in a good way.
Ray's never gotten the credit he deserves for this. When I was younger, way back in Nationwide days, I would listen to Ray and Jeff Gordon on Sunday, stay over, driving the DuPont car, and I'd listen, and he was such a great coach. Jeff Gordon didn't need any coaching when he was leading by 10 car lengths, but Jeff Gordon needed a little coaching when he was drifting back, and Ray would always come on and say, okay, buddy, hold on. I made a little bit of a mistake there with air pressure. If you just hold on, I'll fix it on the next stop. Now, I don't know if you were playing poker or not, but it always worked. You always got in his head, and you made him focus on what he needed to do to get to that next caution.
Well, now that I'm retired, I could tell you I pretty much lied to him all the time. Half the time I didn't know what to do, but I needed him to get to the next pit stop.
All right, so what we want to know with our Sports Nation poll question for this particular Monday is, now we know who the 12 drivers are that are going to contend for the championship. Who do you think is going to win it? We put Jimmy Johnson, Mark Martin, and Tony Stewart out there, gave you the option to pick somebody else. Log on to ESPN.com's NASCAR page and vote. Results later in the show. Still to come, the other stories from Richmond, including the great fight for the lead between Denny Hamlin and Jeff Gordon for a lot of the middle of the race, and Hamlin's emotional win. And the other drivers who, pardon the cliche, did what they had to do to clinch their place in the chase. We'll talk about that in a minute. Plus, our panel picks apart how the 12 men in this year's championship class will fare on the track over the upcoming 10 weeks. That's coming up on the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable.
NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot. Visit homedepot.com. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot.
Entering the night at Richmond Saturday, there were still 8 places in the chase up for grabs with 11 drivers eligible. We already talked about Kenseth, Vickers, and Busch. Let's look at the others who did, quote, what they had to do, end quote, to lock in. Greg Biffle had to miss the lap 4 spin by Scott Speed right there. Watch the 16 sneak underneath. Kenseth as well. Other than that, most of the contenders pretty much managed to avoid trouble despite the tight short track racing in Richmond and got the finishes they needed to make the chase.
This track is a lot like Loudon, so we've got to work, on the cars. We've got to be a little bit better to go there and get the chase started off right. But the greatest thing for me is it's like, it's the second part of the season starting. We're only 40 points out of the lead, and that's going to be fun. Heck, we could still win 10 races and do this. So we never give up. We're just going to dig hard to the end.
I think just proving everybody wrong feels really good. The 3-year plan to come here and start performing after 3 years, and we made the chase, and this is bigger than winning a race or anything, so it's pretty cool.
Everything was good. We had the best pit stall, a great race car, not quite good enough to win with, but we could see the leaders all night, and the guys just did what we needed to do. We needed to finish how we ran, and the last 2 weeks we've done that, and so now we go racing. Pressure's off, though. Pressure's off.
So the final standings before the reseed. Mark Martin ends up 96 points to the good. Kane and Edwards plus 85. Newman, Montoya, Biffle, all better than 50 points ahead of the cut line. But the mere 8 points between Vickers and Busch, the closest margin ever for last in and first out in the chase format. As little as a flat tire for any of those guys could have changed their whole championship picture on Saturday night. You've been in that before with your race teams. What was that night like for the people sitting there? Yeah, okay, we're in position, it's going okay, but.
Well, you can't blame those guys. They've at that point, you've worked all year to get into the chase, and it's what the chase, what the rest of your season is about. So they had to work on doing what they needed to do and not paying attention to everyone else. Certainly, you don't want to be a wreck or a flat tire or a bad pit stop. But if you've got to run 15th, that's what you're worried about to make that chase.
Anything about any of those guys, particular nights, anybody wants to bring up or mention?
Well, they were in a pack all night long that, none of those guys in the pack messed up. And that's what's pretty awesome, that nobody had trouble that took any of those guys out.
And they were consistent with the 25 races before that, that they just took care of business. And at this point in the year, you got to give those 12 and those guys specifically credit for being above average. I mean, it really doesn't matter how you get into the chase, and we all speak about it, right? Just get in the chase, and they did that.
The other story of the night that we want to touch on is the terrific race for the lead between Denny Hamlin and Jeff Gordon. Between laps 110 and 206, they traded the lead 7 times between them.
Great job. And that's just another, Richmond has always been a great short track. They can run inside and outside, but those guys were doing good old-fashioned dirt slide jobs. One guy switching top, bottom. It was a classic Jeff Gordon race, and I know that Denny Hamlin enjoyed it too.
Then Jeff Gordon got nudged there on that late restart and shot him from 2nd to 6th. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin was moving on, leading 299 of the 400 laps for a big hometown victory.
People have been asking me all week, what would it feel like to win at your home track? And until this moment, I had no idea. But it's definitely my biggest win ever. The Pocono win kind of took number 1, and now this one places over that one. It's just it's a huge momentum boost for our race team going into the chase. And we had great momentum going into this race anyway, and we knew bringing a really good car here, we were going to be tough to beat as long as nothing happened. And if you don't consider us the favorite, we got to be one of the top 2 or 3 up there. I can tell you, the way we've performed over the last 10 weeks is championship caliber, and this win right here proves it.
We were fighting hard for those 10 bonus points because we knew once we were seeded that we were going to be behind. But what a strong effort by this DuPont National Guard Chevrolet. Really proud to have Wounded Warriors on board, and it was a great effort. Steve and the guys just brought a great race car tonight, and the best one I've had here in a long time. So I'm really excited. The momentum going into New Hampshire is there. The team was solid. I think we got a great shot at it. We know we got some points to make up, but I think this team's really capable and ready to do that.
All right, first thing, how about Denny Hamlin finally getting the win after all his dominance yet frustration at Richmond?
Yeah, a lot of emphasis on being at home and the added pressure of wanting to do good in front of the family and the fans and friends. But, you know, this is about short track racing, flat track racing specifically for Denny Hamlin. I'd put him up against anybody. If you look at the numbers, they don't lie. He is exceptional on this discipline of racing. And he's going to a track next week to begin the chase that is very similar to Richmond in how you need to get through the middle of the corner.
Every race he's ever been at Richmond, he's led. You know, so Denny Hamlin loves that racetrack. And like he says, that race train, it is scary good.
Yeah, and it's good to see somebody win that really appreciates winning there at home. And I agree with Ricky. Going to be very, very tough again this week at Loudon. They feel like they have momentum. Could well be the dark horse for this chase.
Now, the reason Jeff Gordon didn't have the chance to race Denny Hamlin door-to-door for the win like they did in the middle section of the race was that incident on the late restart where Clint Boyer, running behind Gordon and Hamlin, tried to find an opening and get the top spot. He wound up sliding up into Jeff, trying to avoid Denny and kick Jeff from second to sixth.
Yeah, it was a little aggressive, you know, and you know, obviously they survived it, but it could have been pretty bad for Jeff. And I think if Clint had it to do over again, he wouldn't have done it.
Well, I don't know about that because drivers, when they put that helmet on and they pull that strap, sometimes you don't usually think all the time, all the way.
All right, loosen the strap up a little bit, and you can tighten it up with 5 to go. But that was too many laps left.
Obviously, Jeff wasn't too happy about it. He pulled up there and let him know. And I do agree that I don't think it was intentional, but it was a little bit aggressive. There really wasn't an opening there. And once you do lock the tires up, you saw the smoke off the tire. There was really, Clint was just a passenger at that point, too. So fortunate that they didn't wreck, but unfortunate. Don't know if it took Jeff out of a shot of winning, but it maybe would have made the race a lot more exciting.
I make one quick point here, though, that Clint Boyer hadn't run really well this year, and that does play into this a little bit. I mean, he had a good car. He deserved to run well finally, and, you know, maybe just a little excited.
All right, still to come, our roundtable panel will look at each of the 12 drivers in the chase and pick apart what to watch for in their final 10 races. That's a little bit later. But up next, a driver tied for the most wins so far this season misses the championship. We'll discuss it on NASCAR Now.
Welcome back to NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot.
Kyle Busch has done it. His first win of 2009 and his first Sprint Cup Series victory at Las Vegas.
Kyle Busch is going to survive the green-white checkered finish and win the Food City 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway. And it's a birthday celebration. 25 years old today, Kyle Busch joins Cale Yarbrough, the only driver to win on their birthday. And out of turn 4, Kyle Busch will win it at Bristol, Tennessee.
Kyle Busch won 4 races, tied for most in the series through the first 26 events, but didn't make the chase for the Sprint Cup. How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty stupid because I picked him to win the championship, remember, in the beginning of the year. So
you brought it up.
Yeah, all right. Well, somebody was going to, so it might as well be me. You know, it's unfortunate, but right now the way the point system is, it is set up to reward average finish. And Kyle's average finish wasn't good enough. Now, that doesn't mean I agree with it. I personally would like to see more points awarded for a win and maybe the same amount of points awarded from 30th or 35th on back. So if you do have a problem, you don't get hurt that bad. And if you do win, you should get just a little bit more than they get now. But again, within the rules, within the way it is now, that's, you know, he just didn't run good enough.
You mentioned average finish. Before you guys jump in with your thoughts, let me show you this. A look at average finish, the rank in order of average finish right now. If you look at the top 12 drivers in average finish through 26 races, it pretty closely matches what the point standings were before the reseed, with 2 exceptions. Matt Kenseth would be 12th based on average finish, and Mark Martin would be 13th, while Kyle Busch was 16th in average finish, yet Mark and Kyle both won 4 races, the most of anyone. So, further, your thoughts?
Well, you know, my personal opinion is I don't think we need Kyle Busch to conform into a points racer. It's not good for the sport, in my opinion. And I like what I see out of Kyle. He lays it on the line. The sport needs it. Listen, he's won 15% of the races this year. Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon are the only 2 active drivers who have won 15% of the races in their career. Jeff Gordon has 14. No other drivers have double-digit win percentage. My point is this. how can you have the driver winning the most races with a 15% win percentage not in the playoffs?
That could be something, Ricky, that, you know, maybe that team, they know they're good. They knew they weren't going to have a shot at not making the chase. They just, maybe there was no urgency there. You know, they're like, okay, we won 4 races. We're going to win next week. We're going to be back in the chase. I don't know. It didn't happen. That wake-up call, you better watch out, those guys in the chase.
It's interesting to me, Ray. Ray talked about average finish. This is something we've talked about a lot, how the point system recognizes average finish. And I know I've said this before, but I guess what you have to decide, race fan, NASCAR, commentators, what do you want the championship to stand for? If you want the championship to recognize most wins, then everybody who wins a race should be in the chase, and it should just simply come down to who wins the most races. But this sport isn't like, you know, baseball, where you either win the game or you lose the game. And in my opinion, in today's Sprint Cup racing, if you finish in the top 5 in a race, in any race, you put in a darn good performance. That's a pretty impressive thing to do, and that needs to be recognized too. So I don't know what the solution is, but average finish is what it's come to recognize, and Kyle Busch didn't have the best average finish. Those 40th place results hurt you more than a 12th place result helps you.
Yeah, seems a little counterintuitive to me. Just my opinion. You know, you work hard to be the best, and the risk associated with laying it on the line, trying to lead the most laps and win the race, is a flat tire or scraping the wall or, you know, not finishing because of it. Kyle Busch has had a few of those. I already talked about Daytona, where, you know, he has the option of maybe just staying in line and not risking losing the race or, you know, the wreck he had, but he chose to go for the win. And I think that's a big part of the entertainment in the sport. Listen, if you want to know how the outcome is, watch your favorite movie, right? You won't be disappointed because you know how it finishes. But with Kyle Busch, you never know how it's going to end, and I think it's an important part of the equation.
I know how this segment's going to end. By us going to commercial for a minute, our roundtable panel rates and reviews the chances of the 12 contenders for the Sprint Cup title. How will they race in the chase? That a little bit later on, after the sights and sounds of Denny Hamlin's emotional Richmond win. That's next on NASCAR Now.
Full Throttle is brought to you by Degree B12.
Richmond International Raceway, the stage where the final fight to qualify for NASCAR's chase for the Sprint Cup will play out.
1, 2, 3, go get it! It's nice and smooth all night. We don't have to win the race. We just don't need to make any mistakes.
A lot on the line tonight. Green is in the air, and they take off for turn number 1.
Mark Martin really got a nice jump, wanting to get those 5 bonus points.
Good job, man. We got some points. We needed that.
Look back through there, you can see Kyle Busch has fallen back a little bit.
I can't hustle the entry like I've normally been able to. Keep working on it, man. We'll just keep working on it. The more you work on it, the more it's going to get tight, and I can't turn or I'm getting run over.
The guy in the danger zone, definitely Matt Kenseth. This guy right now is in big trouble.
Feels like the left front's jacked up. Don't turn across the middle, and then they touch the gas. It just lights the tires up. It's just terrible.
It's going to come down to the final lap here at Richmond tonight. It is going to be that close.
Big challenge for the lead. Jeff Gordon gets a good run.
Back and forth they go. It's Jeff Gordon back to the point. This is the best we've been here in a long time, and I'm having fun. Trouble turn 4. Tony Stewart goes 3 wide. Collects Reed Sorensen.
Wasn't pacing enough. I went down there 3 wide. Couldn't get it stopped. My fault. When they open pit road, we get 4 tires and fuel.
Made a pit or what? Pit.
Make me as fast as you can make me. I'm going to take 4 tires. 4 tires, guys.
3, 2, 1. Stop. Perfect. 3, 2, 1. Wait. Back him up, guys. Back him up. Help him.
Troubles continue for the driver who was squarely on the bubble.
This thing's falling apart right here.
Clear 1 lane. Clear 1 lane.
Get it. Hard. Great job, guys. Great job.
And it is very close coming off pit road.
Hamlin just getting the spot.
Good job, guys.
Well, Denny Hamlin is the leader, but the story thus far tonight has been the fact that Matt Kenseth has really struggled, and that bubble is changing.
Looks like it's between the 18 and the 83.
The more I go here, my entry's not bad.
10-4, man. That lap there was the fastest leader. Keep that 18 close. You'll be in good shape, okay?
Vickers giving it everything he's got.
Now that's an 8-point lead he has over Kyle Busch. Unless Kyle passes 3 more cars, he's safely in.
Good job, man.
And out of turn 4, the checkered flag goes to Denny Hamlin.
Good job. Happy for you.
Finally.
And Vickers will be in the chase for 2009.
Did we make it? Did we make it? We made it. Great job. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about, boys. You guys were within 5 points of each other all night.
Kyle Busch, unfortunately, on the outside looking in.
That's the 12 that will run for the championship this year, starting at New Hampshire.
What a spectacular night it was at Richmond. And as we go full throttle with Degree B12, we note that Joe Gibbs Racing picked up its 75th victory. Red Bull Racing gets its first berth in the chase, and Kyle Busch missing the chase by 8 points. As mentioned, the closest gap between last in and first out in the history of the chase format. Later on NASCAR Now, Carl Edwards last to first drive in the NASCAR Nationwide Series race at Richmond. That's coming up. But up next, we talk about how the 12 contenders in the chase will fare through the eyes of our roundtable panel, and there are some interesting issues to discuss.
You're watching NASCAR Now, presented by The Home Depot.
So let's talk about the 12 drivers competing for the Sprint Cup. Greg Biffle's the 12 seed, yet to win this season. He starts 40 points back. Remember, he won the first 2 races in the chase a year ago. Juan Pablo Montoya, seeded 11th. Again, 40 points back of Mark Martin. Montoya's really come on over the summer. Martin said to watch out for him in the chase. And Ryan Newman back in the chase after being absent for a few years. Newman started 2009 36th in points, and here he is competing for the championship. He also will begin 40 points back of the lead. Of those 3 guys, Montoya certainly seems to be intriguing.
Yeah, certainly he's the story of first time in the chase with the Earnhardt-Ganassi merger. Those guys, again, worked the system this year. They attacked. Their goal was to get in the chase. I don't think that we saw how fast that car is. Now that they're in the chase, we're liable to see them be a bigger threat to win.
Alan, I'm going to play off your point. Mark Martin said after the race Saturday night, watch Montoya. Now, that really got my attention. He was very adamant about it. Drivers see things on the racetrack that we can't see from the living room or wherever we're watching the race. That meant a lot to me. He saw something he liked.
But he hasn't won a race yet.
Mark Martin saw something he liked. I'm telling you, I really believe in that.
You might not have to. If you average 5th place finish, I mean, they've averaged 11, I think, to get him into the chase. You average a 5th place finish, you're going to win the Cup.
Clint Boyer surprised us in 2007. Went into the chase, had never won a race, won the first race. Last year, as you said, Greg Biffle did the same thing. So this thing is a little bit hard to understand or handicap because there is a surprise every year.
Let's move on then and talk about the next group of 3 drivers. The 9th seed in the chase is Carl Edwards. A lot of folks picked to win the title this year before the year started, but yet to visit victory lane in 2009 and dealing with that broken foot. Carl is 40 points out to start. Brian Vickers seeded 8th after racing his way into the chase at Richmond, and with 1 win this year, he's 30 points from the lead. The Vic scored more points than anyone in the 6 races leading up to Richmond. Former champ Kurt Busch is 7th. He finished 2nd at Richmond, 1 win this year, so he's 30 points off the lead to start. His crew chief is leaving at season's end, an interesting factor for the Penske team as they contend for a championship. Start with Kurt Busch first. Lame duck crew chief announced today formally he will be Martin Truex Jr.'s crew chief at Michael Waltrip Racing next year. Can you win a championship in a lame duck situation?
I don't see how you can. You know, as a crew chief, I know that when you're leaving an organization, whether you say your focus is on it or not, it isn't. And as an owner, I can tell you, if I had a crew chief leaving my organization, you're worried about the things that you're developing for next year, so you keep those guys separated. So I don't see how it can work.
Kurt Busch, I think that situation is not good. But then again, Carl Edwards, you know, he hasn't had the speed. He won 8 races last year, 9 races. I mean, golly, where's his speed this year?
Can he win the championship with a broken foot?
Absolutely, that's not an issue.
Now, I might have a little bit of issue with that.
Can't do a backflip, but he can.
And I'll tell you why. Because to beat the best, you need to be at your best, and there's no way he can be at his best. Listen, Mark Martin doesn't have that distraction. Jeff Gordon doesn't have that distraction. Tony Stewart doesn't have that distraction. It's not only in the race car. You've been hurt before. When you have that aggravation, it keeps you awake at night. You don't sleep as well. This thing's 10 weeks long.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
But your broader point is, the heck with the foot, he didn't have the speed right now.
Exactly right.
Well, but as you said in the beginning, out of that group, Brian Vickers, I think, has the best chance because he has scored the most points over the past 9 races. His confidence is up. He won a race. I think he can win some more. I think out of that group, he's got the best shot at it.
All right, when we continue on the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable, we'll look at the next group of drivers, the top 6 in the seed, including Jimmy Johnson's try for a 4th consecutive Sprint Cup championship. That as part of our preview of how the 12 drivers competing in the chase for the Sprint Cup will fare on the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable. The all-new World Series of Poker continues on ESPN Tuesday night. Be there for the drama of the flop, the turn, and the river, where a player's exhilarating high can be immediately followed by a devastating low, and a single card reveals their fate. 2009 World Series of Poker, presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky on ESPN, all new Tuesdays at 8 and 9 Eastern. We continue looking at the contenders in the chase for the Sprint Cup. Now, Jeff Gordon will try for his 5th championship as the 6th seed, 30 points behind Mark Martin. Gordon averaged a 10th place finish all season and sure ran well at Richmond until he got knocked around a bit. Casey Kane's 2 wins gives him 20 bonus points. That puts him 20 from the lead and gives him the 5 seed. What a clutch performance that team had in Atlanta. And the 4 seed is Denny Hamlin. 2 wins for him, including the big one at Richmond that gives his team some momentum heading into the chase. Hamlin 20 points back to begin. Casey Kane with the Richard Petty Motorsports Yates Racing merger announcement. They're going to be changing to Fords next year. Again, same thing as Kurt Busch with the crew chief. Can you win a championship with all that going on?
I don't think so, not in that case. You know, Kenny Francis and Casey Kane are carrying a lot of that on their shoulders. You've got your changing manufacturer. If you've got people arguing and things going on in the garage area, I think it's going to be too big of a distraction for those guys to win the championship.
There's always some help, right, from the manufacturers as you go down the stretch. Is that going to dry up, right?
Already has.
Yeah. Already has. Yeah. Yeah. It's part of it.
I look at Denny Hamlin and that race team. Boy, they are scary fast, and they're very unpredictable. If they get predictable for 10 races, you better look out.
Yeah, New Hampshire's certainly a great place for them to start. Like Ricky described, that's one of those flat tracks that Denny just really excels on. But what about Jeff Gordon?
Sentimental favorite at the Evernham shop, you know, and he looked like Jeff Gordon of old at Richmond. I think that he feels good. He's getting over the back issue. He wants this championship, and he knows he has the car and the team to do it.
All right, Jimmy Johnson, as we move on to seeds 3 through 1 now, begins the chase as the 3 seed, the 3-time champion looking for his 4th consecutive title, his 3 wins, leaving him just 10 points off the lead to start. The 2 seed is Tony Stewart, the regular season champion, if you will. 3 wins, but not looking as sharp in these last few weeks as they did before clinching. And the top seed, Mark Martin, 4 wins, 40 bonus points. Certainly a lot of people's sentimental pick for the champion. He's in it. Can he win it over the next 10 races?
I'm going to tell you, I don't know how you can say which of those guys will win it. They're in the top 3 for a reason. They outran pretty much everybody all year long. Jimmy Johnson's got the most poles, the most wins, the most top 5 finishes in all the chase competition. But we know that Stewart and Martin have both run well enough to win it too.
Let me throw a question out there about both Martin and Jimmy Johnson and pressure. We know Martin's trying to win the championship for the first time. Johnson trying to make history for the first time, 4 consecutive. How does the pressure affect him?
I think there's pressure when you're not running well, and I know that Ray and Randy driving, you can feel this. If your car's not running well, there's a lot of pressure to make it up somewhere. These 2 drivers are lightning fast, and it's invaluable this time of year to have speed. Because if you don't have it at this time of year, it's hard to find it. These 2 drivers are leading the bonus points, Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin. That means they've been fast at all sorts of disciplines. Half mile, 3/4 mile, mile and a half, and that's going to play into this. 10 races on, several different disciplines of racetrack.
Look at Tony Stewart. I mean, this time last year, who would have thought he was going to be, not only did he win the first 26, non-point deal, but now he's number 2 seed.
But they haven't looked all that great the last few weeks. Can they get that momentum back?
Well, I'm sure he's hoping so. Hopefully nobody's going to wake him up from that dream, because he's having a dream season.
Can they get it back?
I'm sure they can. Depends on, we don't know if they were experimenting or not experimenting, or as you said earlier, whether they were focusing on Ryan's car. Again, something that everybody's really going to have to watch out for. Has Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson been sandbagging just a little bit?
Well, love Jimmy, Mark, and Tony. Mark got the edge from our ESPN Sports Nation poll voters, but someone else got more votes. The other 9 guys in the chase for the Sprint Cup. Going to be fun to see how it plays out over the next 10 weeks. Who's going to win it?
Mulligan. Give him a mulligan.
No, I bet Kyle Busch. So can I get Kyle to start 13th in it? Because I still believe he could win it if he was in it. I'm sorry, but I had to go with the standard old in case of emergency break glass and take the Jimmy Johnson sure bet.
Yeah. I'm going with Mark Martin. I think I predicted him at the beginning of the year. After 4 races, he was 35th in points. Yes, this race team can win a championship.
I just think history means something. And you asked about Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart's got the advantage of being a former champion. That's the advantage Jimmy Johnson has. He's won 3 of these in a row. There's one thing you can say about thinking you can do it, but there's another to say, I've done it 3 times in a row. He's won 14 of the 50 chase races. History means something here, guys.
I just really think it's going to be a fun chase. We've got so many good race teams running so well. I just, again, like I said about the Richmond race, I hope it lives up to its potential, and it's going to be a lot of fun watching these 10 events to find out. So the regular season is over. It's on to the race-offs for the drivers of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Up next, last to first for Carl Edwards in the Nationwide Series. We'll look.
NASCAR Now, presented by The Home Depot. Visit HomeDepot.com. More saving, more doing. That's the power of The Home Depot.
Week 1 of Monday Night Football on ESPN. Tonight, a doubleheader featuring 2 division rivals. First at 7 Eastern, the Buffalo Bills in Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. Tom Brady's return. Then at 10:15 Eastern, LaDainian Tomlinson and the Chargers face Darren McFadden and the Oakland Raiders. That is tonight. Denny Hamlin has chased momentum after winning Richmond. He also tops Ryan McGee's Sprint Cup Power Rankings, now at ESPN.com. Carl Edwards ready to go Friday night in the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Richmond. He qualified 39th after a spark plug problem in qualifying. Started last since they fixed it after the impound. Good decision. A cool video caution. Jason Leffler and Steve Wallace get together. Then Leffler, you're going to need that, Jason, has to back up and go get that one. Tough night for the 4th place driver in points. After that yellow, Denny Hamlin in the Gibbs 20 got rolling. He moves to the lead around Kyle Busch. That is 2 identically painted cars, yes, except for the number. So Hamlin's rolling. About 40 laps later, Carl Edwards, all the way from the back, comes up to challenge. And while he's trying to pass Hamlin, Kevin Harvick passes him, setting up for the race for the lead with 48 laps to go. Watch this between Hamlin and Kevin Harvick in the 33.
Some great racing, laying it on the line.
Denny just didn't want to give up that lead. Well, on the caution, Carl Edwards' team gets the job done out first. It always helps. And Edwards ahead of Kevin Harvick there. From there, Edwards led the final 20 laps for the win, his 4th of the season. Ironically, 3 of those 4 wins came when he started in the back of the pack.
But then his foot hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd had his feelings hurt, too, if he didn't get that win, I think. Kyle Busch finished 3rd, so Edwards only gained 20 points. It's 201 between them with 8 races to go. Nationwide Series off this weekend. It's the Monster Mile in Dover 1 week from Saturday. Camping World Truck Series race. Gateway came down to a series of late race restarts. Ron Hornaday, Todd Bodine, Matt Crafton. There played the starring roles. 8 to go.
And the onion gets sent. They said, hey, you can go down a shortcut road. Took out a lot of good trucks right there.
So a little red flag for cleanup. That is what's left of Todd Bodine's truck.
Boy, that sticks with you.
Yeah, then they go to a restart with 4 to go. It's Crafton and this time Ron Hornaday.
Get set.
Ouch. Another look.
Brake issues?
No, maybe it's throttle hump.
Yeah, maybe that was it. So NASCAR says to Mr. Crafton, you report to pit road. We're going to put you at the back of the pack. Any thoughts?
That's probably a good call.
Okay.
As long as they do that, consistently, we see things happen, but, it's kind of hard to give a guy benefit of the doubt when it happens 2 times in a row.
So Mike Skinner gets the win, and Ron Hornaday has a 197-point lead over Matt Crafton in the championship for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Quick news bit today. Tony Uri Sr., crew chief for Brad Keselowski and the JR Motorsports team, Junior Motorsports team in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, involved in an automobile accident on Sunday in the Charlotte area, spent the night in the hospital. Team said that Pops was supposed to be released on Monday. Our best wishes for Pops to feel better soon.
All right, I also want to say good luck to my son. He's going to race the Camping World East in a Whelen engineering car this weekend.
That's going to be fun.
Up in New Hampshire. That'll be fun. Good luck to him. Final thoughts?
Watch for Denny Hamlin's momentum to carry on through for Loudon. He and Mike Ford have run consistently well up there, so he could start the chase off real well, too.
I agree with Ray and Randy. Watch Denny Hamlin, but everybody in practice will be sizing themselves up against Jimmy Johnson. Count on it. I liked what Jeff Gordon was doing the other night. He showed some muscle.
You know what? I think Mark Martin, the chase is on, guys, is going to be very good. Nobody knows what's going to happen. These guys are going to be very good. The top 12 in points, look out. They're tightening the belts. They're going.
I can't wait. Like I said, I hope it lives up to its potential, because it's got the potential to be a great 10 races down to the championship when they pass out that trophy at the Homestead Miami Speedway. So some interesting things to talk about. Guy with 4 wins missing the chase, the field for the chase, the potential of these next 10 weeks. Sunday, 1 Eastern on ABC is the race. And don't forget NASCAR Now tomorrow night. Around the Horn is next.